Right, so we've changed our Aero solver settings to fluffy, and I brought down my extreme, min and max of my temperatures. I'm going to look at the fuel node next, but one more thing I want to do before I continue on. This previous simulation I did, this is the emitter here, and it's the same size as the one I'm using now, but you see it's very small in the frame. The camera's very far away from it, so it's something probably a bit like that. So as a result, I think I can get away with lowering my resolution on this one when you play it. I mean, it looks pretty good. I mean, there could be more detail in it, but you know, for watching it through, it looks pretty good. So I did this at 0.11 for my resolution. So, and at the moment I'm at 0.0. Where are we? Source air. 0.05. I'm going to do that to 1.1 to match what I did before. And two things will, and I'll change my geo detail size to match it. Two things we'll get now with slightly quicker simulations and also slightly smaller file sizes for our cache. So the fuel, we have the general settings, turning it on and off, end frames, start frames. Then we've got our fuel properties. We have this drop down that gives you different fuel types. Methane is the default one. I've not tried any of the others. When you read the sort of reference about it, basically, because this is a sort of higher level of fluid simulation that's going on in Bifrost now, you can match real world explosions. So if you were on set and they had a practical effect of a big explosion and you knew they'd use a certain ratio of butane to propane, you could make two source fuels, you could mix them together, and you would mimic the results of the real world. So that's, quite amazing they can do that. Then you've got the ignition temperature. Apparently, what I've left out butane. Apparently, you will get different results if you change these. I've just not tested them. Temperature that ignites, and then we have these two settings: oxygen percentage and burn rate. The first one is the amount of oxygen in the oxidizer. So as it's combusting, how much oxygen is in there. One is 100%, so it's all oxygen, and then as you bring this number down, 0.5, it'd be 50% oxygen to 50% nitrogen. As you can see, changed that slightly, made it sort of start igniting straight away. If I hit play on that, what do we get? Sort of not much difference to what was going on before, but and then we've got, sorry, just waiting for it to stop. Let's put that back to 1. Then we've got our burn rate. I haven't quite got my head around what these two numbers in relation to each other will do. I mean, I've been having a, changing settings and things like that. This burn rate is a stoichiometry. Is it stoichiometry? Stoichiometry. It's basically what happens in the combustion of the fuel and oxygen, and the ratios of what happened within it. It's a bit of a grey area for me how these, changing this number, what it does. It goes up to 2. So 0 to 1, you will have a excess of fuel left over after the combustion process happens. From 1 to 2, you get an excess of oxygen. So I think if you have it at 0, only fuel is in the oxidizer, and if you have it at 2, only oxygen. And at 1, you've got a perfect balance of both the oxygen and the fuel being burnt up. What this means in sort of practical terms to someone who's not very technical like myself, is that I would be wary of making big bold changes in here. Slight tweaks basically seem to so if I put this up to, if I put this at 1, you'll see the perfect balance, and you'll get a very explosive sort of very explosive, sort of white hot explosion coming up. It's now coming through our floor, so I've made my resolution too low, so some of the voxels are going through the collider. So you can see it's just a big white ball of heat. And if I crank that down to say 0.5, do you remember the default was 0.05? Stop that. Please stop it. I rewind that. 0.5. And hit play. So you can still pretty explosive, still white hot. So I think what to take away from this is, read the info about it and sort of get the idea. But I wouldn't make. You can make very small tweaks on this, really. So I'm going up 0.05 to 0.8. It's already a bit hotter. You can see that sort of getting a bit brighter there. And if I go up to 0.1, if it lets me stop it, 0.1. So there you can see you can even just only change that by 0.05 from the default, and it's already a lot hotter. So the thing to take away from this, I've done a couple of tests where I've changed. Let's just pause this so I can write the numbers without just thinking about it. I've done a change where it was 0.00, say 5, and I changed that to 6, and I got a completely different result. So you've got to be sort of quite careful. I'm just going to put it to 1 for the time being, but it's worth playing around and doing some tests. Right, so with that, I'm going to leave that at 0.1. I've got that 1, and I'm going to do a little sim and play blast and see what happens. So basically, I've just increased this by 0.05. Right, I'll unpause this, rewind, there we go, rewind and hit play, and I'll pause it and I'll come back when it's done a bit of simming. Okay. So I've simmed that out, and I've got this. I've realised that one of the problems, I'm not getting much smoke, and I looked at my shader, which I'll make up here, and I realised my fog density was only at 1, so I've cranked that up to 10. We'll think about it a bit, and now we're getting a bit more, well, a lot more smoke actually, which is looking good. And I did a play blast, that. So got that. So we're getting some nice. I've got a couple of glitches there, but we're getting some nice movement, some rolling stuff going on. And in the next video, we'll have a look at how we can start making this even more interesting, adding some influences.